Hello, I'm Azai. Welcome back to Christmas Tina, and what might be the last episode for Christmas Tina. I think, like I said previously, if this is like an hour and 30 minutes, I would still make this just into a one episode. But if it's more than 1 hour 30 minutes, I might split it up. And I was actually gonna play this yesterday, but I decided to make a new model kit. It's been a while since I made a model kit. It's pretty nice. But without further ado, let's start, shall we? I remember we were looking at, Zhang's past. Oh, give me a sec. Let me lower the volume on my headphones because they are pretty loud. There we go. Perfect. I was checking out the abandoned station.
太天真了，以为晚上就没人来了吗？
I whispered and sat down on the empty bench. Construction work was impossible with someone sitting on the bench. Continuing to block it was pointless now. The price was high enough. Rather, I was losing money.
但我也能理解他为什么这么做。
この時間だったら大丈夫だろう。
そうだな。重機は後でいい。まず解体しよ
う。Oh, is he actually gonna be the one that's sitting on the bench? I could hear them near the entrance. They were probably from the contractor. We hadn't come to an agreement earlier in the day, so I was expecting them to start the work the same night.
ようお前ら、こんな時間まで残業か。
こうさん。
あんた、それ何の真似だよ。
散歩してた疲れてな。少し休憩だよ。
They looked at each other. They weren't sure what to think. Eventually, they became angry. Then they calmed down again.
なあ、もう地上げは終わったろ。
ああ、俺からも頼むわ。さっさと更地にしてくれ。
じゃあコウさん、ベンチからどいてくれないですか。
さっきも言ったろ。俺は休憩中なんだよ。はあ。ああ、お前らもプールなんだから、そこはスマットに頼むぞ。
わかりました。でも、無人の時には遠慮なく片しますから。
それでいい。お互いに仕事だからな。ああ、だけど、子供相手に夜中に来るような真似すんなよ。
わかりましたよ。コウさんにはかなわないな。
The two contractors left again. Besides, they wouldn't have been able to use heavy equipment at night anyway. Even if they took the bench, someone could sit on the ground.
看样子，他们晚上不会再来了。
None of us had something to gain from a confrontation. We all wanted this done without incident. If we start messing with them too much, it would affect the construction schedule. And that would incur the wrath of the new owner.
あなた、何の真似よ。
しおりか。たまたま近くに切っただけだ。
たまたまね。
お前こそ、こんな夜中に何の用だ。
夜だからと安心できないわ。
おい、ブースのこと言うなよ。
それくらい知ってるわ。この業界の人間だからね。それに、一応誰かさんの娘だからね。
一応は余計だ。
まあいいじゃない。よいしょっと。
Sorry about that. She whispered and sat down next to me. It had been a while since we sat and talked, I thought.
もう夜には来ないから安心していいぞ。
そう。あなたが協力してくれるとは思わなかったわ。
協力じゃない。夜間に騒音を立てちゃ自薬屋の名残だろ。
なるほど。さすがに言うわね。
ああ、予断してるとあっという間に更地にしちまうからな。
The day the construction was going to start hadn't changed. But if this made her happier, so be it.
ところで元気そうだったか、ティーナは。
まあね。あなたはまだ見てないのね。
ああ、あの日に別れてからな。
ここがなくなったら、もう会えないかもよ。
しょうがない。と思うことにするよ。まあ、お前らは気の済むようにすればよい。
Okay, that was really fast. I guess I was really at the end of that chapter. Was I? I don't even remember. I guess we were still... Yeah, I guess it was a double flashback and then coupled with that. Okay. I guess we were nearing the chapter end. Kana, what are you going to do after this? That someone did not want me to forget, I knew. Scars, huh? Probably talking about the Sato guy. If I remember correctly, that's the name of the guy who died. Who wants Kana to be a prostitute. The calendar was on its last page. We'd gotten used to taking turns on the bench.
一个人坐在这儿，还挺难熬啊。
Damn, this might actually be the last episode though. Or, heck, this might actually be the last chapter. If this is the last chapter, then this is gonna be a short episode. I wouldn't have expected it, but mentally it was harder on me than the physical cold. I thought about it. The three of us had lived together for a long time. Well, what other way was there to live together in an old station? I'm surprised that Emmy actually lived together with us that long. She was there for the most of the game. Like what, 9 months? That's insane. Only the first 2 to 3 months Emmy wasn't with us. I thought that there would be an issue once she starts going back home, but turns out no. I guess they didn't go that way with the story. My thoughts circled this topic for a while.
寒くなったね。
ん？エミ、你怎么来了？
寒いから差し入れ持ってきたよ。
She showed me a baked sweet potato wrapped in newspaper. It was still hot. She must have taken it here directly.
难不成是康纳做的？
Baked potato. Those are really nice.
お姉ちゃん得意なんだよ。
是吗？谢谢啊。
I said and broke off half a potato.
艾米，来，给你一半。含。
Oh, sorry.
半分こだね。
I was actually waiting for him to say some Japanese since he was talking to Emmy, but damn my fingers. Well, actually, damn my eyes because I was reading too fast. She sat down on the bench and we ate together. She often came to hang out with me when I was alone. It helped me a lot. Otherwise, I was just sitting in a cold, empty plot.
喂，冻着了吧？快回去，开嘞。
わかった。
Emmy disappeared, bopping excitedly on the way out. Children catch colds more easily after all. I looked at my watch. It was 12:30 in the afternoon. Kana was going to take over soon.
お待たせ。寒いね。
哎， 你怎么来这么早啊？
No Japanese? Alright.
だってジンもいつも早めに来てくれるし。よいしょ。
She plopped herself down next to me. Amy hadn't left long ago.
どうしたの？帰らないの？
有点问题想问你。
I'd been wondering something for a while. It'd been worrying me. I took out my notebook, although I hadn't used it in a while, and jotted down some basic Japanese.
看呐，这里的打工结束之后，你有什么打算？
私はまた新しいバイト探しかな。
是吗？那你还会留在东京吧？
ジンはどうするの？中国に帰っちゃうの？
不，我要考大学。
I didn't know where I wanted to go yet, but I had enough money now to make that step. I just had to find a university that would take me and get a new job.
そっか。ジンは夢があっていいね。
这算不上是梦想。
でも私は何もないかも。強いて言えば、早く妹を小学校に通わせてあげたいかな。
I understood the words sister and school, so I knew what she meant. It was all that had mattered to Kana since the day I met her.
那等以后艾米身体好了，你也回去上学吧。
高校、また行けたら嬉しいね。
She said, and smiled happily. The last time I'd asked her, she'd smile more sadly. She seemed to have become much more upbeat in the past year. When I met her, she'd been more introverted and pessimistic. Perhaps her real personality had always been more positive.
もう時間だよ。
好，那3小时后见。我走了。
I waved at her, got up, and left.
寒いな。
I was alone on the bench after Jing left. The workers who had come to tear down the building had stopped coming as often. Sometimes they looked into the plot from the entrance, but when they saw me, they disappeared. I wasn't sure what had changed, and it didn't look like they'd given up. But they weren't as desperate to get it done anymore. I thought about this for a while when...
お姉ちゃん！あれ、どうしたのエミ？肉まん持ってきたの。
She pulled out a shopping bag from her pocket. Inside was a still warm meat bun.
もしかして、ジンが作ってくれたの？寒いから持って行ってって。そっか。じゃあ、お姉ちゃんと半分こしようね。
They look pretty nice.
半分こ？どうかした？ジンも同じこと言ってたよ。
She laughed. He must have shared the potato with her. By sheer coincidence, we'd done the same thing. It did make me blush.
あ、ティナも来た。おいでおいで。ティナも肉まん食べるかな。どうだろう。少しあげてみようか。食べてる。むしろ好きっぽいよ。
She was an odd cat, to be honest. Not that a cat eating meat buns was that curious, but in other ways. Right now, she was lounging happily at our feet. But if we tried to grab her, she immediately ran away. She even ran away from Emmy, not just Jing or me. It had taken us some time before the cat showed herself. But now, we thought we were on good terms.
ちゃうね。ダメだよ、お姉ちゃん。
I feel like I'm doing a lot of bad mistakes when I'm reading the sentences today. I was hoping to ambush her, but it wasn't successful. Since Sakura had tried to grab her and take her home the previous month, no matter how much we played around, she ran away when we tried to take her.
美味しかった。
Emi looked satisfied after finishing her half of the meat bun. Tina looked satisfied as well.
それじゃ、風邪ひいちゃうから、早く帰りなさいね。うん、お姉ちゃんも気をつけてね。
Jing and I were taking turns on the bench. I felt lonely sitting there alone at first, but he often brought me snacks too. I wasn't at home there, and he wasn't family. Still, we lived together for a year, and sometimes I could almost fool myself into believing that we were. A few days later, it was a clear winter day. I was sitting on the bench as always.
今日は暖かくて、過ごしやすいね。
It would have been nice if all days had been like that, but there were also rainy and windy days. Perhaps I shouldn't have put it in so much effort into sitting on a bench. I mean, technically this is your job. I did tell Sakura that. In response, she said, "You're getting paid good money, just take it." Then laughed. We were supposed to capture the cat, but we'd more or less given up.
それより、残り3週間ほどだし、次のバイト探さないと。
I only had my place to sleep thanks to Sakura as well. She wasn't going to let us sleep there forever.
久等了，我来接班了。
あ、すごい大きなあくび。
是啊，昨天弄得有点晚。
She's back with her.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry. I was gonna say she's back using her tracksuit. Why would you do that in winter? Isn't it cold? Perhaps he'd been studying until late at night. I didn't understand everything he said, but I had a fair idea.
あ、そっか。勉強大変だね。
It felt as though I wouldn't have to do it myself. I was teaching Emmy, yes, but I wasn't heading for university as it stood. If I hadn't quit school, I would have become a third-year high school student the next year. Normally, I would have had to worry about university entrance exams.
哦，对了，康纳，关于接下来的工作，
He opened his notebook. He wrote in hiragana to make it understandable for me.
找到什么好地方了吗？
なかなか見つからなくて。私って高校中退だし、特技とかもないし。
Yeah, that's gonna be hard. Even back in the 1980s, Japan is already a first world country. So if you don't have any education and no skill, oof. And no connection, oh gosh. I don't know how you'd get any job.
何より、この性格だからね。
不好意思啊，康纳，你说什么我听不懂。
もうちょっと社交的ならよかったのにね。
True, I guess a more sociable person would easily get a job. Well, higher chance, not exactly 100%, but true enough.
康纳，
あ、ごめん。何言ってるんだろう、私。
He gave me a puzzled look, and I remembered. He understood simple Japanese, but nothing too complicated.
ジンは気にしないで。それじゃ。
Perhaps I should learn a little Chinese too, I thought. I wasn't all that good at studying, and understood zero English though. Besides, it was a little late to start learning Chinese. We would only be coworkers for another month or so. Then we would have to say goodbye. If I was going to learn Chinese, I should have done so earlier. The thing about her learning Chinese is that she doesn't really have any pressure to learn Japanese, unlike Jing. Jing was living in a foreign country, so he sorta needed to. I went home after saying goodbye to Jing. It was time to call my family that day. I had to tell them my current job was about to end. I'd have liked to talk to them after I had something else lined up, but I really had to talk to my mother or she would start to worry.
はい、桜井です。
あ、お母さん、カンナ、そっち元気？
I tried to keep it simple and brief. It was a long-distance call, and those were expensive, so we were both used to this.
元気よ。ただ、ちょっとお父さんが。
え、お父さんどうかしたの？
いえ、なんでも今の会社、春で終わるらしいの。
春って、あと4ヶ月ほどだよ。
うん。長いこと勤めていたのに、突然よね。
I had another memory as I talked to my mother. Sakura had told me something before. My father was working at a factory close by. They were making car parts. Old factories in the countryside were slowly dying out. It was cheaper to make those parts overseas, she said. Like China. Besides, many parts could be made by machines now. Workers like my father were losing their jobs.
お母さん、そっち大丈夫なの？
ええ、私たちのことは心配いらないわ。ただ、エミの貯金は少しの間滞るかもしれないわね。
わかった。私が何とかする。
無理しないでね。あなた、何でも一人で我慢するとこあるから。
大丈夫だから。
I'll be fine. There was zero evidence for that, but it was something I'd always told her. I had to be a good sister, and I was never going to say anything else.
そういえば、佐藤さんのお母さんがあなたを訪ねていくと思うの。
I mean, from reading the two sentences at the start, I kind of did say it was that Sato guy, or I guess his mom.
佐藤さんって、あのお兄さんの？
Like, technically, this issue hasn't really been resolved. She's been running away, right? Throughout the whole year.
ええ、お母さんもどうしようか悩んだんだけどね。東京に行く用事があるそうで、ついでにご挨拶に寄りたいって。
そう。
I wasn't really looking forward to that. I still remember the horrible abuse she'd hurled at me.
明日には行くと思うから、会うだけ会ってあげて。
わかった。どうしよう。
I sighed when I left the phone booth. My father's employer was going out of business soon. My former friend's mother was visiting me. I still didn't have a follow-up job.
どうしてあなたは無事なのよ。
Well, she didn't say, "Why aren't you dead?" She said, "Why are you okay?" I think.
あなただって罰を受けるべきでしょ。
This is correct, though. This translation is correct. I injured my right leg, and pretty badly. I didn't have to use crutches anymore, but I was never going to run again. The doctors had said.
私にどうしろというの？
許せないのよ。いつかあなたはこのことも忘れてしまう。そして何食わぬ顔で幸せになっていくのよ。
November 28th. We got exactly...
まだ恨まれている。
Well, I guess she said 3 more weeks, so not exactly a month. Perhaps she was the sort of person who really couldn't accept my very existence. I left the boondocks, gone to Tokyo, and yet she was showing up here. It had been just an accident. That's what I had decided for myself. And I was trying to forget. But someone did not want me to forget. I knew that. Okay, it's actually more than chapter 25. Maybe 30? At this point, I don't know, man. I thought it was gonna be over, but the game proved me wrong over and over again. Remember when I said it was gonna be done at chapter 10? Perhaps verbal abuse would have been easier to take. In the end, we never celebrated my birthday even once. Did she actually forgive her or something? The next day, I was waiting for Sato's mother in front of the main station. Apparently, she'd come to Tokyo for something else, but if she wanted to talk to me, it was hard to say no. She still hated me. I knew that. Perhaps it was only natural.
Sakurai-san, お待たせしました。
はいご無沙汰してます。
I mean, from her tone of voice, it does seem like she at least somewhat calmed down. It has been a year after all.
こちらこそ遅くなってすみません。
Sato's mother bowed slightly. I was wary, given my previous experience. She'd been very rude to me in the past. And besides, she'd lost her son. There was no denying that. It really hadn't all been my fault. But either way, I couldn't just tell her that she was wrong. I found it very hard to talk to her.
桜井さん、今までごめんなさいね。
The first thing she said was not what I expected.
私、どうしてもあなたに謝りたくて、ずっと後悔していたの。あなたに辛く当たって、傷つけてしまって、本当にごめんなさい。
いえ、佐藤さん。
本当はね、あの子が何か悪いことをしていたのは知っていたの。でも、知っていたけど、それを認めたくなかったのよ。
She wasn't blaming me. Her demeanor was calm. I still didn't know what to tell her. All I could do was listen.
でもね、あなたを見て少し安心したわ。
安心？
すっかり元気になったみたいね。その服も似合っているわ。
あ、これは。
いいのよ。あなたは過去に縛られないで。運が悪かった。私は自分にそう言い聞かせたの。あなたが元気そうで本当によかった。それじゃあ。
And with that, she disappeared in the direction of the station. I looked at her until she was gone. She was the only one who'd been talking. I barely said anything. I wouldn't have known what to tell her anyway. It was painful still. I'd been prepared to be verbally abused, and she had apologized. She'd said she was glad I looked well. Perhaps verbal abuse would have been easier to take.
あんな笑顔を向けられると余計に辛い。
I don't know. I feel like that was a pretty alright conclusion. Maybe I'm just indifferent towards her.
カナ怎么回事啊？怎么这么慢呢
I actually thought what was gonna happen was that she was gonna verbally abuse her again, but this time Jing was there, so that he could somewhat at least make Kana, you know, not have to take the full brunt of the verbal abuse. But this is a lot more realistic, I guess, since, you know, the mom is an adult and she was really lashing out at Kana, just a kid, mind you. I looked at the clock. It was 2 p.m. She was an hour late for our changeover. Normally she arrived half an hour early. It was her first time being this late.
说起来，他从早晨起就很没精神了。
If I remembered correctly, she was going to meet someone. Perhaps it was related to that. I ruminated this. Oh, on this, sorry.
ごめん、遅くなっちゃって。
She sat down next to me. She looked even more depressed than she had this morning. Oh, she was wearing those clothes.
看啊，出什么事了吗？
うん、大したことないよ。
但你不是没精打采的吗？
自分でもよくわからないの。
She didn't know either? That's what she said.
私のせいでお兄さん死んじゃったのに誰のせいでもないって慰められたの。私が元気そうでよかったっていうの。なぜかひどいこと言われて責められるより辛いの。
I don't know. I don't think I understand her emotion or her logic at this turn of events. Kana whispered sadly. I didn't understand most of it.
ねえ、ジン。私、幸せになっていいのかな？
What was I supposed to say to that? There was only one thing I knew how to say.
大丈夫。
え？
大丈夫。
あなた、何言ってるのか分かってないでしょ？
I mean, of course not.
大丈夫、大丈夫。大丈夫。元気出せ。いいぞ、社長さん。
What are you even talking about?
何よそれ。社長さんってどこで覚えたの？
Kana was finally laughing. I kept on saying it was alright. I wasn't even sure whether it would help her. Perhaps it was doing more harm than good. Still, what else could I say?
ジン、ありがとね。
I guess it's better than shutting up. If I were in Jing's shoes, I'd probably not say anything, and that'd probably make things worse.
你有精神，我也高兴。
I didn't remember my mother at all. I'd never seen pictures of her either. I guess we're back to Jing's flashback. My father never spoke of her. This seemed odd to me when I was small, but it never bothered me that much. Maybe he was swindled. I only asked once, or maybe the mom died early, I don't know.
你妈已经死了。
I don't know what that means. Is that like you're too young to know? 1974. That's all he said in response. He refused to answer any other question. I decided to forget her. I'd never known her anyway, so she might as well not have existed. I didn't know the people I saw traveling home for Ancestors Day either. It was the same thing. I wasn't so concerned with my mother. I was more intrigued by my birthday. All the other children celebrated their birthdays with their parents. We never celebrated mine. My father was a little difficult at the best of times, but this was odd even for him. Probably he shared the same birthday as the mom, huh? One day, I came to understand the reason. I overheard my father talking to someone. My mother died December 25th, 1968. I was born December 25th, 1968. The same day. Okay. Not the same birthday. Okay. So she died giving birth to Jing. She must have passed away after giving birth. Apparently, my father was in terrible grief afterwards. I could understand it even as a child. He must have been conflicted, torn between the happiness of my birth and the grief of her passing. As long as he didn't celebrate my birthday, he didn't have to remember her death. He was trying to escape all of that. My father was probably trying to do the right thing for both of us in his own roundabout way. It was my second winter in the countryside. It would have been during the winter holidays in elementary school, 4th grade. I helped my father with the fieldwork as much as I could, and when we turned towards the house, my father stopped.
小冉，你知道今天是什么日子吗？
I shook my head. I did know that it was December 25th, but I knew it was best not to talk about it.
虽然不是清明节，
He put a photograph of someone atop a large, flat stone. Then he put flowers and sweet food around it. It was an imitation grave of sorts. I realized the person in the photograph must have been my mother. I was surprised. He'd never talked about her before. And I worried.
今天是你的生日，也是你母亲的忌日。那时的我没有做出选择，两个人都选也可以吧。
My father seemed to be talking to himself. I only listened quietly. He was clear-headed, not drunk and grumbling.
小冉，有好好学习吗？
I shook my head. I wasn't even going to school. Instead, I helped my father in the fields.
在这待着也没意义。
He began to write something down. When he was done, typo, he handed me the paper and the pen.
我已经不再需要它了。但是小冉，你要回到城里去。
It was probably a letter to a relative. I'd never met them, but I'd heard about my relatives in the city.
你该去上学，然后出色的长成大人。还有，找到你的梦想和目标。
My father had told me this many times as a child.
时代一定会变的，到时候再来庆祝你的生日。
And for the first time I could remember, my father smiled softly. He continued to dress my mother's false grave and smiled. That was the last time I ever saw my father or spoke to him. I was taken in by relatives in a city. I was adopted by them, but we were distantly related. And I was not warmly accepted. I didn't mind. I was happy I could go to school again. I studied very hard to fill the 2-year gap. I worried about my father living in the mountains, but I tried not to think about him too often. I was trying to study and to become a fine adult, and I was trying to have dreams and goals. That was all I could do for my father in gratitude for sending me to the city. A few years passed. I was at the top of my class. I was in high school and couldn't ride the bus for half price anymore. Reforms were underway and the universities were back in session. I was preparing for the university entrance exams, expecting to study there. I felt like I had studied enough. Not that I had dreams and goals yet. I thought that studying something economic would be good, influenced by the things my father had taught me as a child.
已经很久没有见面了，父亲他还好吗？
Damn you, I don't know what he said. It had already been 7 years. I'd never seen him in the meantime. We'd had no contact at all. My adoptive father did not approve of the idea.
总之，考上大学之后，要向父亲报告一下。
I wanted to celebrate Ancestors Day and my birthday with him. That was all the drive I had as a third-year high school student. I graduated and began to study. It was summer. The university entrance exams were coming up. I studied diligently every day. At last, I learned of it, or rather, I was told. My father had died years before, quite soon after my adoptive family had taken me in, apparently. They weren't sure whether it had been suicide or an accident. Perhaps the world only caused him despair. Perhaps he had been drinking too much. Perhaps it had just been bad luck.
像您说的，我努力过了。
I was going to enter university. I was going to be a fine adult, I expected. In the end, we never celebrated my birthday even once. At least my mother had her death remembered that time. Perhaps she was happy. Man, what a shitty dad. Recognition would become much more serious. We don't have much time. The world is filled with helplessness and injustice. It truly is. But perhaps it's fair to everyone. Because it is injustice to everyone equally. Who knows? A few days later, I was sitting on the bench as usual. She appeared suddenly.
お姉ちゃんどこだろ
是呀，也该来了呀。
She was going to switch with me soon. She must have gotten wrapped up in baking potatoes again. Apparently, she was also trying her hand at broiled chestnuts. She'd seemed to be unusually self-assured about hearing my opinion on them. That aside, the wind was picking up. It was quite cold. Soon it might snow, I thought. I didn't want to blame Kana for getting distracted by her potato baking. But waiting that long was going to be tough.
Amy, 要不你先回去吧。
帰れって言ってるのかな。
总觉得你今天没什么精神，不要紧吧？
大丈夫、大丈夫。
Amy said brightly, but she looked a little too pale even for the weather. She might well catch a cold, I thought. I was deliberating whether to order her to go home when... Amy collapsed. At first, I thought she'd stumbled, but she simply continued to lie there.
喂，喂，怎么了？
なんか急に胸が苦しくなって。
怎么了？没事吧？
大丈夫。
怎么可能不要紧呢？
ごめん。
She'd collapsed before. That time, it had been a cold. She looked different this time, however. Kana had told me that Emmy had a bad heart. What now, I thought. Kana was supposed to show up soon, but she hadn't come by yet. I could wait for her, I thought. But that seemed like the wrong decision.
别担心，我马上带你去医院。
I picked up Emmy and began to run. To get her to a hospital, I had to call them. I had to find a telephone booth outside.
Amy， 难受吗？
大丈夫。
哎，这就不要说了，哪里难受的话一定要说出来啊！
ごめん、重いよね。
哎呀，这些都无所谓，不是你的错。
I talked to her as I looked for a telephone. Her voice was so weak, nothing like it usually was.
啊，找到了，电话亭。
I entered the telephone booth while carrying Emmy. I needed her to speak for me. My own Japanese was barely enough to listen.
Amy， 不好意思啊，打电话就靠你了。
She didn't even say it's okay. Damn you, translation team.
喂 ，Amy。
I tried to hold her steady, but when I handed her the phone, she was in no shape to hold the handset. It was really bad. The hospital was too far away to carry her there. We had to call an ambulance.
有谁？谁能帮忙打电话？小孩生病了，要叫救护车！
I tried to talk to passerbys. I was desperate. We needed help immediately. But
ねえ、あれ何？
なんだ？中国語か？よくわからんな。
there were a lot of people in front of the station, but they just looked at me and passed by.
我求求你们，谁能叫救护车？有小孩生病了，子供病気。
おい、子供が病気とか言ってないか？
そうなの？あなた言ってやりなさいよ。
いや、ちょっと今仕事が忙しくてさ。
Everyone merely looked at me. Nobody stopped. Some of them even evaded my gaze. I was wasting time.
干脆把他跑去医院。
I was almost ready to do this when
ちょっとジン、一体何の騒ぎよ。
さくらさん、エミ出事了。
エミがって、
she saw Emmy leaning against a telephone booth. She understood immediately.
すぐ救急車を呼ぶわ。あなたも来て。
Sakura and I rode in the ambulance with Emmy. It hurt to see her having so much difficulty breathing. It irritated me that there was nothing I could do. I knew she had a heart condition. I felt like we needed to be getting there faster. It was the same one she'd been to before. Amy was wheeled into emergency treatment, and we waited in the hallway.
カナにも連絡取れたわ。すぐ来るわよ。
是吗？
取り急ぎ私は入院の準備に一旦家に戻るわ。
我在这等着。
ジン、カナをよろしくね。
I nodded. Kana was going to be shaken up. I'd seen it before, and this time it wasn't a cold, I thought. I had little medical knowledge, but Emmy had looked in far worse shape than she did back then. Kana arrived quickly. Her breathing was ragged. She must have gotten here as fast as she could.
你先冷静， 他在病房里。
エミは大丈夫なの？
所以说你先冷静一下。
でも、あの子に何かあったら、私が変な料理作って遅くなったから。
桜井さん、来られたようですね。
はい、エミは、妹は大丈夫なんですか？
ご安心ください。どうぞこちらに。では少しご家族の方にお話が。
はい。
没事，我就在这等着。
I was actually half expecting that, she wasn't gonna be alright. I said and gestured for Kana to go. I was also worried, but there was nothing I could do. I left Jing behind and went into a medical office of sorts. If they had to talk to a family member, that did not bode well.
それで、エミはどうなのでしょうか？
I was afraid of the answer. It was such a vague question too. But I didn't know what else to say.
心臓病のことは前回にもお聞きしておりましたが、とても良くないです。
That was very frank. The doctors had never been so blunt before.
確か、13歳くらいまでに手術すれば。
いえ、もっと早くに手術するべきでしょう。残念ですが、発作が起きてしまいましたから。
The doctors in our little town had also told us, development in children happens quickly. There had been a lot of uncertainty about their estimate, they'd said. We'd also try to save up money as quickly as possible. We weren't trying to wait until the last possible moment.
今回は2週間ほど入院で、またすぐに退院できますが、できるだけ早い時期での手術を検討してください。
先生、具体的にはどのくらいでしょう？
半年、いえ、3、4ヶ月以内を提案します。逆に言うと、それ以降では保証しかねます。
そんな、あと3ヶ月だなんて。
申し訳ありません。本当に危険な状態になってしまっては手遅れなんです。
I don't remember much of the rest of the conversation. It was all so sudden, I couldn't even process it. I didn't know what to do. I couldn't think. Emmy had to get surgery within 3 months. That was all I understood.
お姉ちゃん。
Amy came to again. Looking at her bright mood, you wouldn't have thought she collapsed just moments ago.
起きなくていいわよ。安心して。あのね、エミ。少しだけ入院するんだって。しばらく、ここでおとなしくしてること。いいわね。お注射は痛くないように、お姉ちゃん先生に頼んでおくわ。ありがとう。
It was totally dark outside. I was walking side by side with Jing. I still had trouble focusing my thoughts.
大丈夫？かな？
平気。
I knew it was a tepid response. I knew that Jing was worried, but I was too confused to reassure him. 3 more months. That was the time frame we had for the surgery. Our family had been planning on another 3 years of earnings. That included the money I was saving up in Tokyo. We barely had half the money that we needed at the time. We didn't have any significant property either. In fact, it was the opposite. My father was going to lose his job next year. I was also only employed for another month.
かな？エミ的情况怎么样？
エミ？
是不是病情变差了？病気？
それは。
I didn't understand all he was saying. I did have a fair idea, though. He was probably worried. He was on good terms with Emmy. He was a nice person after all, despite what he did sometimes. So I...
大丈夫？
真的
Oh, sorry.
本当？
My bad.
2週間もすれば退院できるって。
I left out the rest. I couldn't tell him. It wouldn't have changed anything. I didn't see any good solution to this. Paying the hospital bill wasn't going to be a huge problem. The issue was the surgery.
お待たせ。ちょっと遅くなっちゃったわね。
Sakura was carrying a sports bag. Inside was pajamas and other clothes for Emmy.
それで、エミちゃんの具合、どうだったの？2週間ほど入院するって。そう。一安心ね。それで手術するの？だってあの病気って、手術しないと根治しないでしょ。そうなんだけど。確か中学生くらいまでに手術するのよね。
Sakura knew a lot about it. It was a common kind of heart condition after all. She probably knew that it was expensive too. But what she didn't know was exactly how little time Emmy actually had.
じゃあさ、いっそ、今手術したら？
I wasn't sure I'd heard correctly. It was such a flippant way of saying it.
でも、そんなお金ないですし。あいつに頼んでみるわ。さすがに私もそんな大金持ってないし。
I guess her dad.
呼び出すから何をかと思えば。
まあそう言わずにお金貸してよ。
ヒカルに言うな。結構な大金だぞ。
遊ぶお金じゃないし、前借りってことでどう？
なら構わないが、お前は代わりに何をしてくれる？
代わりって？
しおりには言ってない。お前だ。
私？
そうだ。金はやるんじゃない。貸すんだ。当然だろ？
That's fair.
私にできることでしたら。
何ができる？技術は？特技は？金になる学歴か？
それは。
なんもなければホステスだな。そうでもいいぞ。
ちょっと、何言ってるのよ、あんたは。
何がおかしい？当たり前のことだろ。
もういい。さっさと帰って。あんたに相談したのが間違いだったわ。
ったく。ひどい呼びつけて、勝手のやつだな。
たっくムカつくわね。
That was, like one of the choices we could do, though.
カンナ、とりあえず入院費くらい私が何とかしてあげるわ。いえ、それは私でも大丈夫です。
Right, she doesn't know about the time limit they had. So that's why she was okay with her dad just not lending the money.
そう？じゃあ、今すぐってのは忘れて、おいおい考えましょう。はい、わかりました。
When everyone was sleeping, I went outside alone. I didn't tell Sakura or Jing, but I had to talk to my family.
お母さん、 私、カンナ。
あら、どうしたのこんな時間に。
ちょっと相談があって。
相談？ってそういえば聞いて。よかったのよ。
どうしたの？
ほら、この前に話していたお父さんの会
社。もうすぐ倒産なんだよね。
それがね、もう次の勤め先決まったのよ。しかも今より給料も上がって。
My mother was elated. I couldn't manage to feel the same way.
エミの手術代の貯金だけど、この感じだと再来年にはたまるかもよ。
再来年？
ええ。もともと3年後の予定だったけど、1年は早くなりそうよ。
よかったね。
God damn it, why are they making it so hard to say this shit? Even for me, it was the most lukewarm of responses.
あの子、ギリギリだけど小学校に通わせてあげれるわ。って、そういえばカンナ、相談って何？
Please don't lie.
なんでもないの。
じゃあ、あなたにも無理させちゃうけど、頑張りましょうね。
In the end, I couldn't tell my mother anything. She was too happy. I couldn't tell her that if Emmy didn't have her surgery before spring, she might die. Alone in a dark room, with the light switched off, I thought about it. I'd been in Tokyo for a year. I thought I'd been doing my best for my little sister. I like to think that my hard work had let her come this far to begin with. As long as I was a good sister to her, I thought, she could one day be happy. As long as I braved my suffering, we could find a way. But no.
今まで気づかなかった。私たちは、ヒナと同じ。そしてここは、箱庭。
The world was filled with helplessness and injustice. We'd been shielded from that, nothing more. It had all seemed so far away. I'd always told myself, sort of, that someone else would do the heavy lifting. Well, the time had come. I was that person. I was the one who had to make it work. No! What? That's the wrong way of thinking, actually. Are you kidding me? You need support. It's not something that one person can just do. This is a stupid way of thinking. I do not agree with this. I made a decision. I am actually annoyed at this. Only I could save her. I had to be a good sister. There's one rule. 80% of the revenue goes to me, 20% goes to you. You always smile whatever happens. What's wrong with asking for help when you're at your wit's end? What do you mean you have to take things in your own hands? The next day, I went to him. I didn't tell my parents. I didn't tell Sakura or Jing either.